let's see. Go live. Give me the option. Whoops. Oh, wait, what? Am I really live right now? Am I live? Tell me I'm not live. I haven't even hit next on this thing. But it's telling me I'm live right here. Let me edit this. You gotta change the title. We can't be live. 6, okay. Public. Boom. Next. No, this is not what I want. Not what I want. This. Oh, look at that. I actually have. That is so weird. I wasn't even on the stream. Changing the title here. I wasn't even on the stream page. I was just on the go live and I hadn't even hit next. I hate this. They need to fix this. It's really bad. I'm sorry about that. I mean, I'd say it makes me look unprofessional, but it's too late, you know? See, this is, yeah, it's so weird. Okay. Even had me pose for a picture and everything like I used to do when I used oh, hey Vepo, how's it going? David, good to see you. No nose picking, good. I try to be very careful. Tom Strahle Raw, exactly. My first oh, this is the first one you're actually watching. That's awesome. Jesse, where are you located? And there's a bit about a 15-second lag between your chat and when I see it and when you get my video of me reacting to your question or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to jam a little bit here. Using this scale here. And the chord progression is A7 to D7. You know how the balance is. Quite a reach right. You can see quite the reach there with the blue note on the fourth string and then the half step up. It's just where the blues note lands. You could also put it here, but it just feels better to put it there since you're going to be playing that fret anyway. But you know, to be honest, number of times I've played the scale up here, like in toto, is very, very minimal. Probably this is the only time. No, you know, times on that, a million times. But to play it, you know, like this. I'm much more likely to do it in pentatonic number 1 than I would ever do it in pentatonic number. I'm going to close this window here. It's a little bright. Much less likely to do it in pentatonic number 3. Again, we talked about pentatonics, and this is, I don't know how many lessons we've been on pentatonics now, but oh, Finland, awesome. Welcome, Jesse. Great to have you. Someday, I hope to go to Finland. Norway, Finland, Sweden. I'd love to go to all of them. But we talked about pentatonic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, those numbers are my numbers, and they're just based on the order that they appear. If we're going to talk about the caged method, if you look at the top, at those 3 notes right there, I wish I could point to them on the diagram. But basically, the top 3 strings and the highest note on those 3 strings, and I'm still out of tune a little bit. I put new strings on. Remember, I broke my string on Friday. And that's the D form. So technically, this is the pentatonic scale that's built around the D form. So the D shape, we're still in C, but the shape that this scale is built on, and you can even, if you think about a D shape and you get your F sharp down here, you can even see that here. Like if I do that, you can see the E. You can see all 6 of those notes in this pentatonic, and then we just added the blues. But that's to give you a little bit of context in the caged method. And we did, the first 12 lessons I did, if you look at the COVID lessons, their first 12 were on the caged method. So you can go back and we talk about all these scales in the caged method. So a lot of this is kind of reiteration, restating, and then we have this. So we started doing pentatonics, and so this is pentatonic number 3, and I always refer to it as the worst one. Of the 5 pentatonic shapes, minor and major pentatonic shapes, there are 2 of them that have only 2 roots and 2 minor roots and 2 major roots. However, this one also, like pentatonic number 2, does have 3 blues notes in it, whereas pentatonic number 1 only had 2 blues notes here and here. And in this key, we're in the key of A minor or C major. The blue note is E flat. Okay, so over the A minor, it's a flat 5. So if you look at the root A and you go to the blue note, that's a tritone. Okay, but if we're in the key of C major, so if we start same scale, but we just start on this note, the blue note is E flat, which is the third, flat third. Right? So that's kind of what we got. So you can kind of hear that. It's a fun little passing tone between the second and the third. Right? You've heard it a million times in that kind of context. That's what that note is. Okay. And then coincidentally, in the key of C, this is the flat 5. So if we were to add the flat 5 to the C pentatonic, and then we have like that. And which you might do, but it's more of a passing tone. Okay, you can do that with me. 11 and 11 on the second or first and third string, and then slide up. And what you're sliding up to there is a G and an E, which are a C chord is C E G. So this is 2 of the notes without the C. And that's in this pentatonic shape. And then that flat third is right there. I always want to go down. Totally fine. All right. So, hey, John. How's it going? Good to see you. B-Kitty's in the house. Bruce is here. CB, who's C? Oh, Charlie. Charlie was my editor on Friday. Friday was tough. I don't feel like Saturday's good. Monday's going to be any better, to be honest. Move this kind of in my way. I'm not going through this. No, okay. And I don't know if any of you caught the live stream yesterday, but Alex and I were kind of trying to. I just set up my laptop in the office. Hey, Pepper, good to see you. Pepper's got to say hi to everybody. I get caps because she's mad at me. We try. I just set up my laptop in the other room, and with the amps, I have the amps in there, and we were playing. And it's funny because somebody said, "Well, maybe turn your amps down to 4," and I'm like, "Yeah, they were at 1." It's just I don't have a setup really to record. You know, I don't have a mixing board. I would need a lot of stuff to be able to just remotely record decent quality in there. So it was just compressing the crud out of it. So I took the video down. Sorry about that. It's basically it was just user error in that sense. But anyway, Alex and I had fun. And then my vintage Marshall started to make some bad sounds. And I'm like, oh man, I haven't used it in years. And I'm pretty sure I hooked it all up right. But you know, it's old amps are kind of risky to take to sessions and gigs and stuff. I mean, if you take 5 of them, that's one thing. But if you just take one and that's the only amp you have, you're taking a chance. Oh, Charlie, you were there for a minute? Yeah, like I said, I had to take it down. Oh. Hey, Alex. Alex is in the house. Yeah, Charlie, so you got to hear that. Yeah, I mean, it was just, I was watching a video later and it was just like, it was just mush. It just, it's quite a process to, I think if I use my camera and maybe use my camera and the microphone that I have one of these, this might work better. So if I hook, because I should be able to hook my camera and use that as the source. So it would be a better video quality. And then I would have this mic, but I'm still not sure. I would probably have to do some trial runs. That's what we didn't do. We didn't do a trial run. We just turned it on and went, okay, let's jam. And somebody said, can you turn your amps down to 4? And I'm like, yeah, we were at 1. We were hardly. It sounded louder than it was because we had gain pedals on. So, hey, Dad. So this scale, we'll go ahead and we can. Like I said, it's not the normal one I would play. And now the 2 roots in A, the 2 A's in this scale are here at the 5th fret. 5th string, 12th fret, and 10th fret on the 2nd string. Those are A's. And then the 2 C's, again, this pentatonic number 3 only has 2 A's and 2 C's, are here and here. So at the 10th fret of the 4th string and the 13th fret of the 2nd string. No, the SIP rules do not apply to Alex. And I've got my coffee. What is everybody drinking? So oh no, buffering. Dang it. Sorry, it's buffering. On my end, I can see. I'll try to keep an eye on it. On the corner of OBS, there's a little green box, but it went red, and I'm like, dang it. And I don't know if that's internet connection or if that's relationship between YouTube and the OBS software. So it really was just for a split second, so it may not have gotten to you. Okay, you got water. Diet Pepsi. Diet Coke is my poison. So let's go ahead and play this scale. And there's really, you could probably finger it several different ways, but we're going to just do it kind of a standard way, I think. But we're going to start at the 10th fret on the bottom string, and we're just going to go first finger, second finger, third finger, like that. 10, 11, 12. Okay, that's the first 3 notes of this scale. And then on the next string, you're just going to go 10, 12. Okay, and that was normal for this scale. And then we're going to do 10, 12 again, and that's normal for the scale. But here's the blue note we're going to add with our pinky. Okay, and here's where we get to the first point of this scale where I think, okay, I might use this scale. Like this, I might use that. You know, if I'm going to play The Entertainer by Scott Joplin, then I might do that. But you can see that kind of... that lick, which is a very common lick, on piano, on guitar, any instrument, really. But that's pretty low. If you were down, you might be more of a riff for to build a song around than it would be a solo lick. But then when we go 10, 12, 13 is the next. Yeah, you have to take sips. Yeah, Alex, you have to take sips. Everybody has to take sips. So if I touch my face, if I refer to myself in the third person, if I use air quotes, if I say I had a band in high school called, fill in the blank. If I drop my pick, it's a sip. If I drop a thumb pick, it's a double sip, right? I've got 2 thumb picks here. If I drop a thumb pick, you get to take 2 sips. If I say there won't be a quiz on this, and I have mugs you can buy. I actually have the t-shirts too. I've sold a few. I don't think I've sold anything in about 60 days or so. So, people, you got to get on this. Come on, man. Buy a mug. I make like $6 on these. It's crazy. And if I say there won't be a quiz on it, you can take a sip. That's a celebratory sip. If I leave the room, you take a sip. If I change guitars, you take a sip. Let's see. What's another... I know Gary's not here yet. I haven't seen him. But Gary's the keeper of the... Tom command sips. It's not the 10 command. We're up to 13, I think, now. And if I say there will be a quiz on it, he says it's a reverse sip. So I'm not. That's totally up for your interpretation. I don't know if that means just don't take the next sip, or if it means you have to actually spit in your cup. Because I would opt for the first. It's 14 items. I'm suspicious though. I think he said if I change glasses, that's one. That's not going to happen very often. That's about that's going to happen about as often as Tom Strahle referring to himself in the third person. See what I did there? Oh, I know one. I forgot. If I mentioned that. Oh, you got the mug? Oh, thanks, Jeff. If I mentioned that I did all the guitars on Apex Legends. Yeah, I can leave the room. I've left the room before. If I have to go over there to get an instrument or something like that, like if somebody's bugging me to get something, I have to go get it. So. Hey, Bonnie, was Jim, did he have surgery or something? Okay, so let's continue with the scale while Bonnie replies to my question about Jim. so again, 10, 11, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13. Now here, there's our A. So that's a spot where I could go, okay, I could use this scale a little bit. But that lick is right here. Okay, and this gets again to my point of timbre and location on the fretboard. There may be times where you want that sound. I mean, that lick, but you may not like the tone. It's a little woodier here, almost jazzy. It's a little bit more brittle and in your face. Okay, but that lick here is laying in the middle of everyone's favorite pentatonic shape. This one here is laying in the middle of everyone's least favorite pentatonic shape. So it's not so likely, but like I said, these are the first few notes of that scale that I could go, oh, okay, I could totally make use of that. Okay, from there we're going to have this reach. Okay, so our pinky is currently on the 13th fret of the 4th string. We're going to have to go down to the 9th fret of the 2nd string. And that's kind of how we finish out that. Which actually could have its own charm. You can pull off to that E, which is nice. Which is the same as, it's like my Rick Bennick lick that I love so much. And none of you know who he is, but he was the guitar player in a band called Roadmaster, which were the big rock stars in Indiana when I was growing up. And he and I became friends, and he passed away just a couple of years ago. I think it was just the 2nd anniversary. But he was a pretty big influence on me because he was a guitar player I actually knew and I could sit down with, and we would literally teach each other stuff. In fact, I taught him how. It's so funny because I don't think I taught him about tapping when that first started happening, and so he started using it in his show. So I was like, I'd be sitting out in the audience going, hey, I showed him that. It was pretty cool. Pretty fun knowing somebody, you know, like knowing a rock star when you're a kid. And like to anyone in Indiana, he was a rock star. But that's, yeah, so I did a video on that. Also, there was, who was it that was on, he was in Bel Air, remember that? So I'm good. I don't know if he's watching. He asked me on, and I saw the question on the phone. So, you know, I have the YouTube app on my phone so I can see comments and stuff and approve them. But I don't have Discord. So I'm going to post the Discord join link now. And there you can also see, which is really cool, and I'm going to set it to make never expire. But you could... It's telling me I've got an error here. Paste. Okay. So here's the Discord. No, it looks good now. And then okay. So there's the Discord. And if you want, that's where you can go see where the cigar box guitar build that Bruce is doing. And he's got pictures up there and everything. It's going to be really cool when he's done with it. It's going to be a lot of fun. A legitimate, 100% real cigar box that actually creates some resonance. And Bruce, I'm under this impression too that I can record this acoustically if I want. It's going to have a pickup in it, but it'll actually sound acoustic. So, okay, so let's get to the end of the scale, for God's sake. Okay, so, okay, again. Start at the bottom, 10, 11, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13, and then 9, 12. We're done with that string, 9, 12, third string, okay. And so that's the same as it was before. And then here is, go back up to 10, and we do 10, 13, and that's the same as pentatonic number 3. So no blue notes on these two strings. And then we have the part of the scale that I feel like is the most usable part, and that's 10, 11, 12. I get my George Benson on with that. Like, okay, so on the 12th fret of the first string, 12, 11, 10, and then 13, 10, and then down a fret, 12, 11, and then up a fret again, 13, 12, 10. And then AJ's in the house. And then we have 12, 10, 12, 11, 10. And then if you want to kind of finish it out in the key of C, you can go here. Or if you want to finish it out in the key of A, you can go down here. And remember the lessons, and this will be a cool one to go back to too if you're new to the whatever, Alex. I grew up with a rock star. If if you really want to start seeing the pentatonics in a new way, if you're already kind of familiar with the pentatonics, we did 2 lessons in a row, I think last week, where what we did was we did A minor pentatonic, and we did every note in A minor pentatonic, which was A, C, D, E, G, and found them on each individual string one at a time. So in a sense, and when we did that, we went one string at a time. As we did that, the pentatonic shapes revealed themselves up and down the neck in all the different positions, okay, all 5 different scales. But the cool thing about that is it's really handy when you want to kind of move from position to position, if you know all the notes in that key on each string, because that way you can just really go use the string to get you down to the next place. And a lot of guitar players do that. There was a lick. Oh, Alex and I were jamming on Walk This Way yesterday. And it's one of my favorite, like I said, it's to me, it's the most funky rock funk lick. I would call it a rock funk lick because it's rock in its origin, but funk in its soul, I guess. And he does the same, but he goes back and forth between, in this case, it would be the, you know, like that, or no. He's doing that. It's like the coolest. You know, that. I can't. He does that literally 3 times in that lick. Like this. So it's just a really, really cool moment, and it's one of those things where it was kind of Joe Perry just kind of sold me in that moment. I feel like it's one of the great, and then he does a couple other solos in the song, and they're just all great. But that one moment was just like, holy cow, what is that? It's like the first time you hear Brian May solo, and you're like, wait, what? What kind of guitar is that? I had no idea he was stacking guitars. You know, I'm like, I want a guitar that sounds like it. What does that sound? It's just so funny. Okay, so let's try the scale again from the bottom to the top and back down again. 10, 11, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 13, 9, 12, 10, 13, 10, 11, 12. And then backwards is 12, 11, 10, 13, 10, 12, 9, 13, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12, 11, 10. Okay, I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm going to tell you what notes we're playing, because I feel like that's a real important thing to see as well. And don't worry, there will not be a quiz on this. However, I will put the notes right here so we can see them. So let me add a text window. Add text. Whatever. Here's the notes. A, C, D, E. No. Yeah. E flat, E, and G. All right. There we go. So these are the notes I'm playing. Okay. D, E flat, E, G, A, C, D, E flat, E, G, A, C, D, E flat, E. Backwards, E, E flat or D sharp, D, C, A, G, sorry, my brain shut off, E, E flat, D, C, A, G, E flat, and D. Okay, now, why do I call it E flat, not D sharp? I don't know if anyone's thinking that, but just in case you are, put that up there. I think in both the case of, and let me see, I can edit again. How do I edit? There we go. if we start on C, same scale, C, D, E flat, E, G, and A. In both the case of the A minor pentatonic and the C major pentatonic, I'd rather think of this as in A as a flat 5. You could think of, if you call it D sharp, which it totally is a D sharp, but if you think of it as a D sharp, then you're thinking is a sharp 4 or a sharp 11. And to me, a sharp 11 has a very different connotation than a flat 5. Okay, John, I'm going to hit that question in a second, okay? Don't let me forget that. And in the case of C, I much prefer, you could call that E flat a D sharp, and then you have to refer to it as a sharp 9. But I much prefer to think of it as a flat 3 because, like, if we're playing in C, and I think that, this is an A. This jam is an A. Uh-oh, we lost a bunch of people. What happened? Was it because I put the letters on my face? Where did everybody go? So if I, let's see, let's see, do I have a C here? Let me go here. So when I'm playing over like a C7 and I hit that E flat, I'm thinking that I'm undershooting the 3. Oh, there we are. Everybody's back. I'm undershooting the 3. I'm wanting to go to that E. And again, in blues, which is cool, is you don't have to get all the way to E. You can get, you don't have to go all the way. That's almost too pretty or too inside. Less bluesy. It's almost more bluesy if you don't get there. You can also go to the E flat from the D. B.B. King would do that all the time. Okay, now I'm in pentatonic number 2, right? Because it's hard to bend. Although that's really hard lick to do. Okay, but so in both cases, I'd rather think of, whenever I think of sharp 4. Okay, whenever I think of a sharp 4 as opposed to a flat 5, I'm always thinking of kind of in soundtrack music. I'm thinking that lift you get from the sharp 4, like for example, like that's a sharp 4 on top there, and I could never think of that as a flat 5. So that's why I always refer to as E flat in both these cases here, because I really do think of them as a flat 5 in the case of the A. Okay, we have our A here, and we have our flat 5, our tritone, and then in the case of C, we have that minor third thing going on. Okay, and so of course I did these diagrams and I'm not using them, but there's the A. Okay, there's the relationship there. You can see the red notes are A's, and you can see the tritone relationship. Let's see, here's it. Okay, and then sorry, I have it here too. I also did the homework. I did my homework this morning. There are the 2 C notes. And it's a little harder to see that minor third relationship, but I think between this one here on the 10th fret of the 4th string and this one up here, you can totally see that minor third. Okay, so hey Jordan, good to see you. Yanni, how should I get better chord progressions? That's also a good question. But let me get to John's first. So John asks, how do you decide which form and corresponding neck location to use? Well, that's pretty much determined by the key of the song or the chord you're playing over. And then it doesn't matter what key you're in and what chord you're playing over. you can play in any position. So then it becomes dealer's choice. And that was the whole point of learning the pentatonic shapes. If you just know one shape, see, this is what you don't want to do. Let me show you an example of how you might not want to play. You know, it's not a crime, but here I think I've got 1-4-15 here. And I get a gainy tone. Let me miss this. It's got low. Okay. So I've got three chords here. A, D, and then back to A, and then up to E. If you only know one scale, you only know this one. You'd just be moving the same licks around. Part of the beauty of playing in different positions is like I said, sonically different positions reveal different sounds. Like this lick here sounds different here and here and here. I don't think I've ever played it there, but or even obviously now it sounds really different because it's a different octave. But you can play in different positions to get a different sound, but you can also play in different positions. Like, for example, if I'm playing over the A7 chord here, you know, I might use an A blues scale right there. And then when it goes to D, I might not use a D blues scale. I wouldn't use, because it almost, I don't know. It just doesn't sound. That F doesn't sound as good. It's weird, but the F doesn't sound as good over the 4 chord as the C sounded over the 1 chord. If that makes any sense. So in other words, the flat 3 over the 1 chord sounded totally fine, right? But when you get to that D chord, I don't like the sound of that F. I'd rather go ahead and hear, since we're playing an F sharp, I'd do the B.B. King thing and play an F sharp there. So I would modify my scale a little bit. But essentially what I'd be playing is kind of, and we can talk about these pentatonic scales too. We could take all 5 of our pentatonic scales and take that G down to F sharp so we create a happy B.B. King scale. That would not be a bad thing to do. But basically I would make a slight modification maybe on the A scale. And then when I got to E, yeah, then I might use E minor pentatonic. But would I go up here? I could, you know. But all I'm doing is just moving my hand up. I'm not taking that knowledge of that scale and transplanting it here. And that's what you want to do. So you want to see that. Well, then you realize, oh, well, the only difference between A minor pentatonic and E minor pentatonic is that the C's all become B's. So in other words, if I just play essentially what amounts to pentatonic number 3 at the 5th position, which is our least favorite pentatonic, but if I play pentatonic number 3 at the 5th fret, it's E minor. So check it out. So I'll go ahead and play the jams here. So here's the A, the D, back to the E, A minor. Get the idea. So hopefully that kind of sheds some light on it. The different forms. There's basically 5 forms. If we're talking shapes and forms of the same thing. and they are located in different places. And when you change chords, all of those forms technically that go with that chord change. Now, A minor pentatonic sounds great over the A chord, over the 1, and it also sounds great over the 2 or the 4 chord. And so you could do a vamp between A7 and D7, and A minor pentatonic would work fine the whole time. It's when you go to that E chord where you kind of sometimes want to make an accommodation. And so then you take that C, and because the C doesn't, it's the C note that doesn't work. And remember my rule, yeah, Bruce, I saw that, so I'll try to get to that in a second. My rule with, with a bad and something that sounds bad, if the note's not working, a note that will work will be 1 fret away, either down or up. Maybe both. Maybe both notes will work. But if I'm on E and if I'm on a C and it's not working over the E chord, then if I go down to B, it's going to definitely work. If I go up to C sharp, it might also work because it might imply kind of a 13th or a 6th over that E chord. So either one of those might work. Okay. Now, let's see. Yanni, select some songs you like for motivation. Make sure. Yeah, Yanni, how should I get better at chord progressions? That's a loaded question, but I did do, if you're having troubles, so my definition of a chord progression would be 2 or more chords in a song. And now if you're asking about like playing, fast chord things, that's just, again, that like anything, it's just practice. As far as like coming up with chord progressions, that's a whole nother series of lessons. But as far as changing chords between 2 chords faster, I did do a video recently. Let me put a link in here so you can grab it. And it was, I think, called Change 7 Tips. Here it is. I don't know if anyone saw that. How many views do I have? It doesn't say here. But here's the. Let me go back. Uploads. Just curious how many views. It's not. I thought it would be a nice. Yeah, it's got 2,200 views. It's not great. Okay, so here's that. And Bruce said, Yanni, select some songs that you like for motivation. Make sure that they're use common but different progressions and practice. Slow at first and faster as you. That's great advice. Yeah, I mean, and know that too, that don't think that the amount of work you have to put into that first song is the amount of work you're going to have to put into every subsequent song. Let me. I don't want to talk over people's heads, but it's, in other words, if a song is E minor, C, G, D, and it takes you a month to get that song down, okay, guess what? There are thousands, if not millions, of songs that use E minor, C, G. So once you have that progression down, you technically have a million other songs. That's why someone who can barely play guitar can play a million songs at a campfire, because there are so many songs. Now, you may have to play the chords in different order. You may go, or maybe, and we did a whole thing on chord progressions, and even writing. We did a whole video. I mean, I'm always trying to look for ideas of what to, we've got 2 more of these scales to do, and then I got to figure out what we're going to do next. But yeah, so you don't be too discouraged if you're having a hard time changing. But the hardest part is first, getting your fingers to the position of the new chord quickly, and that doesn't happen automatically when you first start playing guitar. And one thing that you do want to try to do is move all the fingers together. I had a student for years, and I told him, I mean, God bless him. I touched my face so we could take a sip. I haven't done many sippable offenses, so But I had a student that he was a turtle. I mean, everything he did in life was measured. He was an engineer. I won't mention his name. Nice guy, great guy. And this is back when I was charging $10 an hour for guitar lessons or whatever it was when I first moved to California. And I think, to be honest, I mean, I told him many times, even though I needed the $10, I told him many times, I said, you don't need to take guitar, I just don't think it's your thing. And he's like, no, I want to get this down. But it would be just like, watching molasses roll down a piece of sandpaper at about a 10-degree angle. I mean, it's just not going to happen. It's like, go G, okay, now C. And he'd be like, first finger goes here, right? I'm like, yeah, first finger goes there. And second finger here? Yeah. It's okay if you make a mistake. He's an engineer. You don't make mistakes when you're an engineer. Am I right? Do we have our house engineer here? Anyway, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And it was an hour lesson. And I was like, I think really it was driving me crazy. And I was like, I'll pay you $10 not to come take lessons from me. But it was tedious. And so, but that's the thing, it's like, you can't just go, okay, one finger, then finger. No, you have to get to the point where you're moving all three fingers at the same time in the case of going from this G to this C. And one of the tricks that I always have students do, see, you could have a song that's 8 strums of G. I'll do this G for the sake of it. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and then 8 strums of C. Slow down tempo. Okay, and then if you get to C, you got to go. Okay, you're wasting so much time. So what I do is I say, look, here's the thing. Just make a list of all the chords in the song, and then create exercises for yourself. So let's say the song is G, E minor, C, D. So what you do is you go 1 strum of G, 1 strum of E minor, 1 strum of G, 1 strum of C, 1 strum of G, 1 strum of D. And you just keep doing that. And what you're doing here is you're working the G chord in that chord progression. The G chord is, you're practicing getting to the G chord from every chord and getting from the G chord to every chord. So so your fingers start to memorize the paths that they have to take. Okay? Then you do the same thing with E minor. You play 1 strum of E minor, 1 strum of G, 1 strum of E minor, 1 strum of C. Don't waste your time with 8 strums and then stopping and getting that note. Go to that point where you're stopping and just practice the spot where you're really struggling. I'm just a fan. Boy, could I have picked a better progression? I think it's in G, right? I think that's the chord progression. So this is a perfect example of this, Yanni. So what you would do is take G, just play the progression 1 strum each. Okay? You got the strumming thing is a totally different skill as well. You're wasting a lot of time there. I know you want to play the song. The other thing is you want to slow everything down, just like Bruce said. Everyone, myself included, I'm literally guilty of this 100% of the time. Okay? And the guys I know that are freaking shredmeisters, they have the discipline to take things really, really slow. And then make sure their technique is spot on, and then they speed it up. Not me, like all of us, I'm like, I want to get there sooner than later. And so Yanni, what you're going to do is you're going to take each of those 4 chords, and there's probably more chords. It may only be those chords. That would be awesome if some of those chords. I think it's in that key too. Am I right? Is that in the key of G? Hurt is a good song to practice those yarn. Hurt is that the Everybody Hurts by REM? Capo second. Okay. Yeah. So so same thing applies. So if you put the capo on the second fret, I got my shub capo here. Tighten it down. Same thing applies. So because the skill you develop going from G to E minor, the G shape to the E minor shape, is going to transfer no matter where you play that on the neck. Okay. So make an exercise out of each one of those 4 chords, and the exercise being the chord you want to concentrate on, one strum, and then every other chord in the song going to that one chord. And now we're going to go to the E minor, and that's going to be the one we're going to work. So we're going to go E minor G, E minor C, E minor D, E minor G, E minor C, E minor D. You know, you can even get to the point where you're just doing this in front of the TV mindlessly. But it always is good, especially early on when you're learning something new, to concentrate on it and not just be mindless. I spend a lot of time practicing in front of a TV, and I don't know how much of that stuff I retained. So I don't do that as much. I don't really do it at all anymore now that I'm married, unless your wife wants to hear you noodling while she's trying to watch a movie. And then you do the same thing with C. C, G, C, E minor, C, D, C, G, C, E minor. And if you want to throw another chord like A minor in there to kind of mix it up, you can do that. If you want to throw an F in there, you know, really mix it up, totally fine. But that's how you get the frustrating thing is changing. That's the moment of change is where everything comes to a grinding halt. So you definitely want to try to get to that point where you can you can go from one chord to the other without really any hesitation. Now, keep in mind, guitar is not a piano, and the piano player, they can make a chord. I've told this story before, but they can make a chord and then hit a pedal, and the chord keeps ringing, and they can get their hands over the next chord and then go blam, right? It's like, we can't do that. I actually, this guitar, I don't know if you can see there's a hole here, you barely see there, and there's a hole here. I had a MIDI pickup mounted on this because I bought this guitar back in '97 to use for clinics for Maranatha Music, and one of the sponsors was Roland, and one of the things they wanted me to do was to try to pitch the guitar synthesizer, and I hated that thing. And I really hated trying to sell it because I thought it was stupid. If you want a synthesizer, just have a keyboard player in your band. But there were moments. But one thing you could do, which was insane, was I could play a chord like that with a piano sound or any sound, to be honest, and it had a sustain pedal on it. So that piano would keep ringing out, and I could change chords. It was really, really cool. So you could probably do it with a strumming acoustic sound too, and you could have a chord ring out, and then you go, and then take all the time you want to get to C and all that. So that was crazy. Now, I like I said, I wasn't a fan of you can see I don't have the MIDI pickup on here anymore. Alex actually has that. I gave it to him so he could put it on something, but because Roland just gave it to me, they gave me the synth and everything, to use. And I taught clinics for him for 3 years. And I think they knew that I wasn't. I mean, there were other things that I was using the GT5 at the time, the pedal board, and that thing was cool. And I think I sold a bunch of those, but I don't think anyone, not based on my pitch, bought one of those guitar synths. So, yeah, piano is much easier to play chord progressions on. So if you're coming from piano, Yanni, yeah, it's definitely, I can see where you might be frustrated. There was something else I was thinking about, too, when we were talking about changing instantly. But, in fact, I remember it was so funny because Judith Hill, who's the daughter of a couple good friends of mine, Pee Wee Michiko Hill, she's a singer, and she's pretty well known. She sang with Michael Jackson, and she did a record with Prince. Like, they produced a record together, and they were very close. But she took her first guitar lesson from me, and she was like, I don't get guitars, like it doesn't play when I hit it, put my finger. I said, yeah, I know, you've got to pick it. You've got to actually make the note. Piano, the notes are already tuned. They're already, the strings are in the right length. They're already there, and you basically, and they play. It's like guitar just, I mean, I could hammer on everything, but she was just like, yeah, this whole coordinating the left hand, right hand thing was her. Now she's getting really good. It's amazing because she's a very, very good musician. She's very talented. I think she's probably a genius. If she were doing any other industry, she'd probably be, a genius at that. So, oh shoot, it's buffering. Sorry, it's green now on my end, so it should be getting better here in a second. But yeah, so, and even Judah's mom said, who's a great piano player, she said, yeah, even a cat can play piano. So yeah, it's crazy. So, oh, Hurt by Johnny Cash. Yeah, you're right. That's a good one. Yeah, it's good. I'm green right now. Sorry about that. I wish I knew what was causing it. You're downstream for me though. So right now I got about 2,800 kilobytes per second. So that's more than enough. I didn't see it go down there, but. Now, John, did I answer your question about the different positions? I'm touching my face so we can all take a sip. Because and that's a big question. But what, as far as what position to use, that's in the moment. And that also depends. Are you the player, or are you trying to transcribe what someone else has done? Because there were many, many times where I was transcribing guitar solos and I didn't get, now when I watch the video, we didn't have YouTube when I was a kid. So now when I watch the video, I go, oh, shoot, I've been playing it here all this time or whatever. And so that's a different thing. And usually sometimes you can tell sonically if we're like say Stevie Ray Vaughan or George Benson or where sometimes you can tell George Harrison where they are sonically, and sometimes you can't, and so you're just guessing. But I always say, remember, guitar players are lazy. So if there's two places to play something and one is hard and one is easy, it's always the easy way to play it. Okay. If there are 5 ways to play something, a lick, and we talk about this all the time. I can play this E here, 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 and if I had a 24 fret neck here, and so every one of those notes has a different timbre. Open totally sounds different than fretted, right? And then 5th fret sounds different than 9th fret, and 9th fret sounds different than 14th fret on the 4th string. The string's getting shorter and it's getting fatter every time. So it's going to affect the tone. If it's super gainy, not going to notice that so much. If there's a lot of gain on the guitar, you won't be able to tell where on the fretboard the guitar player is playing. So weird. Oh, that's so weird. Oh, let me see what. Let's see, stream health. Okay, last time I said there was an error. It was at 9:28 my time, over a half hour ago. So I'm thinking that maybe there's something going on down the line. And let's see, Bruce, where are you? You're in Florida. Charlie, where are you? Because did you see that there was a huge shutdown of Amazon, Netflix, YouTube, like all the major websites were down. And I don't know what happened. Was that yesterday or the day before? It did. I wasn't on when it happened. So, yeah, I'm wondering if there's a regional outage. There could be something like that. You're still getting sound, but you don't. And then the buffering thing, you might have to, the blurry thing might be, just have to reload, refresh, or something like that. So, and then, is this all of them? Yeah. So here's the scale we did today. Okay, those It's pentatonic number 3 with the blues notes. I'm gonna play this again in a second. Here it is with the blues notes and the minor A minors roots written in there. Again, pentatonic number 3 only has 2 minor roots and 2 major roots. Here are the 2 minor roots, A's, and here are the 2 major roots, C's, those 2 yellow notes. But in its defense, it has 3 blues notes, which pentatonic number 1, our favorite scale, only has 2 blues notes. So let's play this one more time together if you can. If you're playing acoustic guitar, you should be fine, but the next one might be a little bit of a challenge. Okay, so here we go. 10 on the bottom. 10, 11, 12. Okay. 10, 12. Bye, Bonnie. God bless you. Best to Jim. And then 10, 12, 11, 10, 12, 13. And there's our blue note right there. You can totally hear it. And then we go down a fret to 9, 12. You can practice. That's kind of a good exercise. But it's much more, it makes more sense or it feels better in pentatonic number 1. Again, case in point. But okay, and then, so we got 9, 12, and then we go 10, 10, 13, and then 10, 11, 12. And that's a great little snippet. That part I would use all the time. Right? I would use that lick all the time. So that's actually really usable. Okay, let's go backwards. 12, 11, 10, 13, 10, 12, 9 with a shift, okay? Then 13, 12, 10. Let's see. 12, 10, and then 12, 11, 10. Okay. So that's the new scale. And that's the one for today. So tomorrow we'll do pentatonic number 4, and I'll add the blues notes into that. Not tomorrow. Tomorrow I will drop at 9 o'clock, I think, the video Alex and I did on capo anomalies. And it was just a fun capo. I don't know. I wish my videos would get more spins. It's so frustrating. I mean, let me look at uploads. Let's see. Views. Of course, my number 1 video is 7 Tips for Older Beginners. 2.4 million, which is amazing. 5 songs with only 2 chords is 528, almost 529,000 views. And that's cool. And what I did on that one, the funny thing is only 93% likes, a lot of dislikes on it. Which is it's probably I got more dislikes on that than any video. Well, maybe not. I probably got more dislikes on it. I don't really care. But I did a second one, 5 more songs with only 2 chords, and I was going to do like son of 5 songs. And I have another one ready to go. I haven't recorded it, but I have the list of songs. But when I look for it, it's not even in the top 30. I mean, my 30th video is 2 left-hand exercises, has almost 18,000 views. And I'm not complaining here. This is awesome. But let's see, where is that? I mean, okay, here it is. 5 more songs. And I've got a card. I'm just not sure how to generate spins. And this one's 99%, which is hilarious. But 5 more songs with only 2 chords. Here, I'll put a link here. Here, so you can see the one. It's interesting to me, and we're losing viewers probably because there's buffering issues somewhere. Yeah, so I knew what you meant, Yanni. The callus thing is interesting because, and here I'm gonna also put up the Discord link again, okay? Because that's way up now in the chat stream. But this link won't expire. So here's the Discord link if you want to join that group. And oftentimes there's some more stuff. You know what? And I'm going to go to Discord right now, and I'm going to upload this image here, and this one, and this one. Okay, I'm going to upload all three of those to Discord right now. It's going to be in Tom's bookmarks. Oh, I did one, but I didn't do two. So I'm going to upload a bunch of things here. I'm going to upload Pentatonic 2 and 3. So there's going to be 6 new things up in the Tom's bookmark. So you can copy those and put them in like a Word doc, make them small. Because if you print them, they're going to end up being one-page giant. You don't need to do that. But that way, they're all up there now in that Discord link that I just posted. So hopefully that'll help you. And I'm always, wanting you to have as much paperwork as you can have, because you can make your own books out of these and things like that to practice. That's totally what I did. I've got books and books and books for every style of music. Like I got one for bluegrass, I got one for gypsy jazz, I've got one for classical, I got one for flamenco. I just put together these books, and that way I pull them out, I want to work on them, and so that's always fun to do. So the callus thing is, yeah, I had calluses pretty bad. One thing, you have to be careful, like when you take showers. After you shower, I would not play guitar for about a half hour at least, just because you're gonna probably eat up your calluses. They're gonna get soft, and then you're gonna tear them up. So that's a preventative thing. One of the things that's happened with, people ask about calluses, and usually, if when I was teaching lessons, I would say, "Hey, feel the tips of my fingers," and they are not hard. And what's happened is because I do this all the time, I play guitar all the time. My skin on my tips of my fingers has just learned to grow. It's like a different kind of skin. It's soft, but it's not callous. But it doesn't go away. It's just fine. So it's weird. It's almost like some kind of evolution, but it happened within one lifetime. So, if you're playing a lot, eventually the callus thing you may develop a fingertip thing where your fingers just grow a new kind of skin. It's kind of what, like I said, my fingers are just used to having that pressed down. So it's nothing for them. Now I have had problems with one time and here's another key. There's a problem with having wet hands. It was one week at church, and I was wearing, instead of jeans or instead of like cotton slacks or something, I was wearing like black pants that were kind of more polyester or something, and I was wiping my hands because I sweat, and if I'm going to solo or whatever, I get nervous and I start to sweat my hands. That's why I use elixir strings, because they tend to be impervious to my hand sweat. But I was sweating and I couldn't get my hands dry, and so I was like, well, whatever, I'll still play. And I slid up on the E string to do a thing, and on my third finger, it cut right through the skin. And I had a slice through my finger, and it was bleeding and everything. And it was just insane, painful and everything. And so I'm having to play the rest of the set without my third finger. And then, so I had to tape it up. I had Band-Aids on it, and I played with it, literally got one of those kind of wraparound Band-Aids and stuff like that. And I could play. It was not the tone I wanted, but most people wouldn't notice that. So I was still playing, doing what I have to do. And when I thought it was healed, I took it off and slid my finger up, and the string went right inside that cut and did it again. It was like, oh man, it was so brutal. So I had to really give it a long time to heal, and it took me a while before I was even confident to slide up the string. Now I've totally forgotten about it. But so I really do try to keep my hands dry. And that's kind of unrelated to what you're saying. You're saying your calluses are kind of breaking apart or separating, things like that. Yeah, that just happens when the callus gets really hard and you're playing on it, and then it's tender underneath, which is a drag. I remember that feeling. Yeah, your fingertips go numb. Yeah, I've had that happen too. I've had that happen too, where my fingertips are just plain old numb. But yeah, so let's see. So do okay. So last week, yes. Okay, that's. Oh, I see. That's pentatonic number 2. There's the blues. Oh, right. This is yesterday's. So here was yesterday's scale. This was pentatonic number 2 with the blues notes. Well, and that's the other thing. Yeah, Dennis. Dennis makes a great point. You don't have to press so hard. A lot of times we're concentrating and we're not aware of how light our touch is. You could lower your action. If you're playing electric guitar, you could lower your action and you don't barely have to touch the string and it makes contact with the fret. But I tend to play pretty hard. I tend to dig in pretty hard. I shouldn't. But I know I do because I just had my main Strat refretted for the 3rd time because it was all pitted out. Oh man, it's buffering. I just saw it. Sorry. You can still hear me though. So, all right. Let's see. I'm gonna open messages. It's been an hour. I think I sent myself a text of a story. Let's see. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Hook. Oh yeah. Yeah. You know. So. All right, so let's see. I got a long story. Is Diane here? I kind of want Diane to be here for this story. Diane, where are you? Is Diane here? Diane. Hey, Jordan. Good to see you. I didn't see Jordan there. Okay, waiting for Diane to reply. Nylon strings are less problematic too. Oh, you're welcome, Richard. I hope this is helpful. Dang, I feel like I'm kind of rambling today. Let me see. That's one. That's old. Memories. The corners of my mind. That's the new one for today. Okay, and that touched my face. And those are the blues scales from the A minor perspective and the C major perspective. Okay, that's all right. No Diana Bruce. Yeah, that's all right. So I was trying to think of a story. I was telling this one the other night with some friends. They were over and hanging out for dinner and swimming and all that because it was pretty warm. And so what I was talking about when I went to Japan in, what year was that? 2008. And the whole, it was with a, it was right before, it was the beginning of December, for 2 weeks in December, first 2 weeks of December. And it was at, with like a gospel / jazz thing. So we did a lot of jazz and a lot of gospel. And it was a ministry thing, so it was kind of an outreach thing. And Japan's an interesting country because less than 1% of the population is Christian, but they love Christmas. They just love it. And Japan, I mean, it is lit for Christmas. Everywhere is Christmas displays, even creches. I mean, even like Jesus, Mary and Joseph and all that stuff. It's like, but you get in the elevator in a hotel or anywhere, and they're playing Christmas songs. It's just everywhere. This is Christmas. They are really, really into it, and so it's fascinating. And every show we did was sold out, and we did about, I think, 15 shows in 15, 14 days or so, and some really big venues just packed. And because we were Americans and we were playing jazz and gospel, and we had gospel singers, and we were doing worship music, contemporary worship music, like Israel Houghton stuff, and I don't know if we did any Tommy Walker tunes, but like I was the only white guy in the band. It was the bass player, drummer, the leader, the singers, they were all black. One of the keyboard players was Japanese, lived in Japan, and before everybody did a song, and I had a song that I did it was a song I wrote called it was a song called It's Time to Praise the Lord. So it was a worship song that I wrote. It was like a call to worship. And so everybody was going to share their testimony. That I do not know. Franco's asked me. I have the 13-pin MIDI connection on my guitar. I just told the story about how I had a guitar synth on this that I couldn't wait to get off of it because I hated it. But typical MIDI connection is 5 pins. I have a 7-pin for stuff, but and B Kitty, you would need some kind of interface. So, no worries, Holly. Sorry. Okay. All right. Well, let me get to the first slide here. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm just telling a story about when I was doing a kind of a worship gospel jazz tour of Japan with this band, and it was great musicians. I mean, it was Will Kennedy on drums, who plays with the Yellow Jackets, Smitty Smith on bass, who's just played with a million people, and Tim and Ron Brown, God bless him. He's on last stages of Alzheimer's now, so he just doesn't remember anything. Ron toured with, played sax with Diana Ross in the 70s and 80s and stuff. Actually got hooked on crack cocaine. Diana Ross paid for him to go to a clinic and get off crack and everything, and took care of him. And sweetheart of a lady. And Ron became a Christian through all this, and he started going to Japan for different things, and he didn't speak a lick of Japanese. And within 6 months, he was so fluent. It was like a miracle. It's like God just tapped him on the forehead and said, "You know Japanese." It's like, wouldn't that be cool? And he was so fluent. Japanese thought he was born and raised and lived in Japan. That's how he was like so fluent in Japanese, and he could have deep conversations. I'm like, that's like they're not even. It's not even related remotely. So that was a crazy. I mean, that's I would call that probably a legitimate miracle. He blew away everybody, like because he was working with his Japanese pastor, and so we're in Japan, and I'm in this band, and everybody's getting up and giving their testimony before they sing their song, one of their songs, and the testimonies are like, one of them was, my parents were white, I'm black, my parents adopted me, and when I was in high school, I started selling marijuana, and I made so much money, I bought a Porsche, and then I got arrested, thrown to jail, and I shamed my parents. And he said, then in jail, he came to the Lord. And the cool thing is, he's since got that same Porsche. Like, he's done so well legitimately in life that he's able to buy that same Porsche he had in high school. But he does ministry now too. So, and that's what he was doing there. So that was his testimony, right? And another guy's testimony was, yeah, when I was 10 years old, I lived in Washington, D.C., and I used to be a drug runner between different drug lords. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, nobody would stop a kid, so they just gave me a backpack full of drugs, and I would go through D.C. delivering drugs. And it was like, and then I came to the Lord, and it's like all these like crazy testimonies, and I'm like total suburban, white Anglo-Saxon Protestant punk kid, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna tell the story about, how I wrote this song, or what the song's about. But it was interesting because we did, like I said, in 15 days or 14 days, we did about 15 shows. During the fourth show, I'm sitting there, and of course, I'm more towards the end of the set. So I've got all this time while everybody's doing their testimonies to kind of formulate something. And I kind of formulated this. I kind of formulated what I would call my testimony. It's a Christianese for the story about how you came to know God. Okay, it's called testimony. I'm sorry if I apologize for using Christianese. When you've been in churches since you were 13, you're pretty much, it's like another language. And I really apologize for that. But so, and I'm what we call, again, more Christianese, a four laws baby, which means, so there was pamphlets, everybody's seen pamphlets. Anybody hands out of any religion, or you're selling car insurance, you got a pamphlet. And so, pamphlets you're selling something. And so when I was in junior high, this guy who played guitar, I told the story about that's the guy I got my Gibson 175 from. He, at McDonald's, took me to McDonald's and shared the four laws with me, and I came to accept Christ at the end of that presentation. It's very concise. Clear presentation of the gospel, which again is Christianese for the story of the Bible, particularly the New Testament. And I'm highly aware that there's unchurched people listening right now, so I'm not trying to sell you anything right now. I'm just telling you what with this story because it's pretty funny. And so I'm sitting there, nervous as all get out because I got to speak, but because I'm thinking, you know what? I'm looking out at this audience, and we're in Japan. In fact, that day, we had gone to Kentucky Fried Chicken, and one of the band members left his $700 camera at the Kentucky Fried Chicken at the booth, and we were like, oh, dang it. And we went back, didn't realize it, went back 3 hours later, and it was just sitting there. Like, Japan is like, it's a very... it's very clean. It's very safe. It's everybody there is super nice. It's like, well, they're perfect. It's just like this little bubble of perfect, it's like, what do they need to, and I was standing there listening to these testimonies by the people in the band, and I'm thinking, can these people relate to this at all? And, I don't know, maybe they can. They were amazing testimonies, and I was ashamed to share my totally white perspective, white privilege testimony to coin a vernacular of the day, and Japan is awesome. I can't wait to go back. I would love to take Beth there. I think she would love it. She has really no interest in going to Asia, although I have friends I have a cousin in Bangkok, so we might do that too at some point, but. So I'm formulating my testimony, and again, like I said, it was a four laws thing, but I needed to have a story. I couldn't just necessarily just say that. That was kind of boring. And when I was a little kid, people say, oh, are you a Presbyterian? Are you Methodist? What are you? And I'd be like, I'm an atheist. And they're like, what? I'd be 10 years old, and I'd say, I'm an atheist. When I was 7, I tried to count to 1 million. So I tell my testimony. I got there's 3 things that I share, and the first thing I say is when I didn't believe there was a God, and one thing I did. There were 2 things I did for the translator. Okay, and this is if you're speaking in front of an audience that doesn't speak your language, there's two things you need to do. You need to speak slowly and put gaps quickly so that the translator can translate what you're saying. And sometimes some of the testimonies, they would talk for a minute and then go, oh yeah, you got to translate that. And the translator would be like talking for a minute. So it's better if you just do like 10-second chunks, right? So I did that. And the other thing is you don't use any colloquialism. You don't say, I'll paint your wagon red or something like that, because that just doesn't translate. It'll be like, the translator will be like, I don't, they'll even say, I don't know what that means. So I was speaking very slowly and making it concise and, trying not to use any colloquialisms. And I said that, I was an atheist when I was a kid, and I tried to count to infinity because I wanted to know what was after infinity, right? So I would write on a piece of paper where I left off that night and go to sleep, and then I'd take the piece of paper down. I had a bunk bed, and I would store it up above the, in the slat that was going across, and I pulled down and I'd count until I got sleepy, and then I'd write that number down. And I didn't start at a billion or a trillion or a quadrillion or whatever. It started at 1. It was like an idiot, okay. But I was 7. What do I know? So, but I wanted to know what was after infinity. The other thing that freaked me out when I was a kid was the universe. Like I said, well, what's beyond the universe? And they'd say nothing. And I went, that doesn't make any sense to me. And then the other thing was time. When did time start? And they're going, well, it just did. And I'm like, so my teachers couldn't answer my questions. And I was at McDonald's with a friend who was sharing me about this God who was bigger than infinity, held the universe in his hand, and started the clock, and someday will stop the clock. And then I said, somewhere between the fries and the milkshake, I accepted Jesus, right? And the band is looking at me like, wait, that's not what you were sharing before, and that's a crazy ass testimony, right? They're like, what the heck? And they were like, that was really good, and we're backstage, and the translator, who's Japanese, she said, that's the best testimony I've ever translated. I said, you're kidding, right? She goes, no. She said, you had them in the palm of your hands. And it was like 2,000 people out there. She said, when you mentioned McDonald's, you owned them. I said, what? She goes, Japanese people love McDonald's. I said, you're kidding. And I'm like, that's hilarious. And so, we're backstage, and they have these, panels set up so that, like Smitty, the bass player, is getting changed, right? Smitty's the black guy he was the guy from Washington, D.C., who was a drug runner when he was 10 years old, And his testimony just floors me. Amazing testimony. He's the nicest guy you would ever want to meet. And Smitty's like on the other side of the screen, and he goes, ain't no black kid ever try to count to infinity. I was like, oh my gosh. he killed me. But it was really interesting. So that was my testimony every night after that. And it was really, really fascinating to hear the stories of, people and talking to people afterwards. And it was really, I loved Japan. It was so beautiful, so fun. And the thing was, one of the Japan songs, the song that I wrote that I played was, I think, a capo second. In fact, it was on acoustic. I don't know if I played acoustic. I think they provided me with an acoustic. I don't remember bringing an acoustic with me, but maybe I did. No, I didn't. I think they provided me one. But it was this. What is it? I can't remember. It's kind of like a James Taylor if James Taylor wrote a worship song, that's the song I did. The other songs I don't remember, and they were all not original songs. Well, maybe Ron's songs were songs. I think Ron's were from his records and they were original. So I changed guitars, so that's a sippable offense. I think Diane's going to be mad that she missed that story, though. Hey, Gary got here just in time for just story time. No worries. I can't believe how dedicated you all are. Like, you literally will sit here for the whole time watching. That drives me crazy. No, it floors me. But yeah, so so the other songs we did were pretty much originals that Ron wrote, or they were worship covers. So, like, for example, Smitty would do he didn't write any of the songs. He was the bass player, but one of Ron's songs would have a big bass solo in it. So before they did that song, Smitty would give his testimonies like, I don't know that Will did. I don't think the drummer ever did. Will Kennedy's a great drummer. I mean, look him up. And he plays with the Yellow Jackets. And he's left-handed, but he plays on a right-handed kit open-handed. So he's like hi-hat here and snare here. It's really weird, to watch him play because it's just weird. But I understand, how many left-handers learn how to play guitar right-handed because they, that's the only kind of guitar they had around. And I always felt bad for my left-handed drummers at like Jeff's or jam sessions because they had to they couldn't flip the drum set around. They had to just sit down and play it, And so if you're used to doing, if I was on a left-handed set too, I would probably do that same thing. I would play hi-hat with my right hand, snare with my left. So thus then I would be open-handed. But yeah. Oh, bummer. Yeah, sorry about that. The new time, and I have to look at the numbers and see if it's any better. Currently, right now, we have 31 on, but and that's, the highest we've had, I think, is 32. So now we're at 32. That's great. So I'm not sure if this is a better time. Excess. Oh, Simon Phillips. Is he? Simon Phillips is such a great drummer, man. That guy's a freaking beast. Does he play open-handed too? I didn't know that if he did. I'm sure I did at some point, but I just forgot. Gary, we like you. You're easy to learn from. And your excellence as a guitarist comes through with none of that talking down thing that happens too often. I try not to. Yeah, just jumped up to 35. Isn't that crazy? Holly, I hate to interrupt your story time, but wondering if you have a lesson on that chucking finger picking stuff. Oh, that thing. I should do a lesson. Well, here's the thing. There's a lot of things going on there. Basically, what I'm doing there, Holly, is and this predates John Mayer, I think. I don't know that John Mayer was a thing back, maybe in 2008 he was, but I wrote this song back in 99, before John Mayer. So it's kind of a John Mayer style. But what I'm doing is I'm being the bass player, the guitar player, and the drummer, basically, right? It's like, there's the bass, here's the guitar, there's the snare. And it's just a coordination of a lot of things going on. It is a pretty difficult technique to learn, but I should do a lesson on it. The way I wanted to approach this lesson, if I was going to do something like that, was I started a series. If you can call 2 videos a series, so far it's only 2 videos. I did one. I should have called it favorite strumming grooves of the rich and famous. But it was John Lennon's favorite strumming groove and Neil Young's favorite strumming groove, because I noticed that John really liked the 6/8 feel, the Celtic thing, and then just put the guitar down. But
Neil Young really liked that. Boom, boom, boom. He really liked that kind of boom, boom, chang, boom, boom. He really liked that, and he does that in a lot of songs. That was amazing how many songs he did, especially on Harvest. Like, I think there's 4 songs on Harvest. They use the same groove. Kick the bit drummer's like, oh, really again? Boom, boom, can, boom, boom, can. It's like, we will rock you. So I felt like I was trying to find some like more contemporary guitar players like John Mayer or Ed Sheeran that used, technically I touched my face. Ed Sheeran or John Mayer who used one specific pattern. And I was thinking of that pattern for John Mayer, something like that. But, I haven't done John Mayer yet, but I went through a lot of Ed Sheeran's songs and I thought for sure one groove would kind of show up, but he kind of took my advice, which is learn as many grooves as you can learn on acoustic guitar. Otherwise, you're just playing the same sound over and over again. And it's not like I ever, he took my advice literally from me. I mean, maybe he watched one of my videos and I talked about that. He may very well have, I don't know. However, the funny thing is I actually did replace his guitars on a Bieber song, on this song. They hired me to do, what's it? Because on the original recording of that, the guitar he was playing had a really bad hum. It was like really, really loud. And so I got the file they sent me without the vocal, so I had no idea what it was. And I replaced all the guitars on it, sent the files in, only to find out that they hired like 3 guitar players to do it, just to see who would come up with the best version of it. And then what ended up happening was they ended up just going with Ed's because none of us could get his vibe. If you know what I mean? It's like really interesting, and I was bummed because that song was on the radio. I was like, oh, I would have heard myself on the radio. To this day, I don't think I guess I've heard myself on the radio once. One time I heard Home to Mama on the radio. And it was just like, it was not the radio. It was a restaurant with a Spotify playlist. So it felt like I was listening to it on the radio, but I don't think I've ever been in the car and going, oh, that's me. I hear myself all the time on TV. That's in movies and things like that. That's but as on the radio, like a pop song, I have yet to hear myself play, which is weird. But and then so that pattern, Holly, I think I might try to find maybe John Mayer, but again, if I do John Mayer's favorite strumming groove. Strumming always implies a pick to me, so maybe I'll just do a separate video for that. The hi-hat, check that one out. That one's a lot of fun. Tommy Emmanuel's a beast on that kind of stuff. Yeah, I see him, and I've seen him in person. I see him play, and I just want to quit playing guitar. It's funny because... Yeah, what was it? A friend of mine went to see somebody. I can't remember who it was, and my friend's a really good guitar player. And he was telling me about the show, and he goes, "Yeah, the show, and it was amazing." And then they had booths out front where you could get counseling and sell all your gear. So I say that now whenever I see anyone amazing, I'm like, "Yeah, it was awesome because they had booths out front where you could sell all your gear and get counseling." Yeah, exactly. So but that, if you start out simple, even with just one chord, not worry about left hand. I think that groove, that thing is easier to do. Almost easier to do with a bar chord than open, because you can really control what rings out on a bar chord with if you do. And there's a couple different hits I'm doing. I'm doing one like this, okay, where I'm muting the strings. I'm hitting downward. And so basically what I'm doing is I'm pushing the strings down into the frets. And that's that slap sound comes from that. And then there's the other one and that's 2 and 4, right? And so I'm doing it with a closed fist. But then there are times where you want, and this I think I may have gotten from John Mayer, but there are times where you want a chord ringing out when you hit the downbeat. So that's when you go, like you kind of hit the top of the guitar, and so I don't know. But it's really not much different than what Paul McCartney did with. He's kind of brushing the strings with his index finger, you know, like a finger picking pattern. But he's actually. He's more brushing and less intentional classical picking. But I always thought it was more of an exercise. Oh. I see the freeze. I see it going down. It went down to literally 0 kilobytes per second. Well, it's been over an hour and a half. I'm going to log off, and because I got to get some work done, and I will see you. So I'm going to. One thing I got to do today is, in fact, I may do that right now, is prep that video, and I will premiere it tomorrow at 9, and I'll try to log in. At 9 as well, and then Alex will be there. It's a video that Alex and I did on capo anomalies. Just a fun video with different capos, and so that will premiere. But live, I will see you on Wednesday, Lord willing. And like I said, I'm kind of in the middle of a record, and I won't be here Friday, but I'm kind of in the middle of a record, so I may end up not being able to do Wednesday. But I will let you know. And if I don't do Wednesday, and I can do Thursday, I will do Thursday because I will be gone Friday, and otherwise it would be a whole, several days without connecting. So, because we have a couple more pentatonic scales to add blues notes to, I could feasibly do pentatonic scales, the B.B. King ones, with a 6th instead of the 7th. But I'm not sure that's not a beginner thing. I like to try to keep these fairly beginner. I know this is actually not very beginner either. Today's lesson in particular was kind of difficult. But maybe, send me some ideas. We can talk about what to talk about next. Because I don't know. We could talk about slide. Everybody get a slide. I could give you a link and everybody could order. This is actually, I like this slide. I got this. I just played it yesterday for the first time. But it's called a preacher's pipe. It was like $18. It's solid brass, so it's very well made, and it's got a slight bevel to it, which is nice. Feels really good, and it's slight. It fits nice on the string. So anyway, so that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna end the stream now. We peaked at 35, I think 36. That's amazing, but that didn't happen until the end. Now everybody's leaving. So I will see you later. Hopefully Wednesday. Tomorrow we'll do a premiere and then I've got to shoot a couple more videos. I don't know. Hopefully I can shoot a couple more videos before Friday. Because I'd like to post another one next Tuesday. I'd like to be regular with those if I can. Like post a new video every Tuesday. So anyway, I'll talk to you soon. God bless you all. Thanks. Bye-bye.